say yes. Like when the opportunities come along, just say yes to the opportunities, take a chance. And while you're in it, get the most from whatever it is that you're doing.
Welcome to episode 9 of Leading with Relevance. I like to say that we're identified people that are busting through the status quo to make a difference to their community, to their business. Our goal is to interview some of the top leaders all over the country. And for the listeners, we want to provide practical insights that you can apply in your own personal leadership pathway. I'm Tino Mantella, Chief Strategy Officer for Relevance, and I love the opportunity to talk to people about their leadership journey. I definitely have learned a lot at every episode, so this one will be no different, I'm sure. The episode that you'll see will run about 20 to 25 minutes, but we have something we call relevant overtime, like they have 60 minutes overtime. And you'll be able to get the whole podcast on our website if you'd like to do that as well. So today I have the great pleasure of interviewing Sophia Shoate. She is president of Global Enterprise Sales for UPS. Sophia has been with UPS for 34 years. She was first promoted to president in 2019, and in her current role, she was promoted in January 23. One of her many accomplishments is a key role in driving UPS's transformation into the global leader, sustainable and efficient logistics solutions. Also advanced UPS's digital transformation by modernizing user experience and deploying cloud-based solutions for SMB clients. She has been published, and one article that we enjoyed was How Small Business Can Win at E-commerce. She's an active supporter of nonprofits, including Cool Girls, Latinas Rise, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and she has a current passion of growing the Douglas Ayres Scholarship Program. She's a graduate of Leadership Atlanta, and those of you probably that know Leadership Atlanta know it's not easy, number one, to get into, and the folks that come out of there are really share some great experiences. She was inducted into the 2023 Oklahoma State University of Diversity Hall of Fame. So with all of that, Sophia, welcome to Leading with Relevance.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me today.
So in your early part of your life, what shaped you most? And do you have one or two or three people that influenced you?
Well, I'd say we're all a product of our environment. So that's really what shaped me. My parents, they set the tone early in my life, God and faith first. I watched them work very hard, so they instilled that hard work ethic in me, discipline, saving, making sure we're looking out for that, and really family, friends, community support. That when they say it takes a village, that's surely true. It takes a village to raise us all, and we appreciated that. I even think about when I went to Oklahoma State, my uncle lived there, and he really took me under his wing and made sure I had whatever I needed while I was in college.
So being in a small town, how was that? And did you always feel like there was something for Sophia outside of Bartlettsville, spreading your wings, so to speak?
I would say yes. As soon as I graduated, I moved so Dallas was the big city. I moved to Dallas and tried to find an opportunity there. I knew I wanted to get out and see the world and do more. I had an aunt that really influenced me. I used to just see her travel all over the world and go to different places, and I knew at some point I wanted to have that experience. And so, I did want to get out of Bartlesville and see something bigger and do more. Interestingly enough, my UPS career brought me back, and I started there and actually spent some more time there, but eventually got out. But yes, I knew I wanted to spread my wings and do more.
You were a two-time state high school relay champion, and I also read that you were inducted into the Bartlesville Athletic Hall of Fame in 2018. So talk about how athletics played a role in your development.
I think most athletes understood that it really helped you understand teamwork. It fueled the competitive side within me. And we had Coach Burt was a huge influence on us because he pushed us to be great. He saw in us what we may not have even seen within ourselves. But I think it also helped me come out of my shell a little bit. I'm a natural introvert, but running track and going to those track meets and really standing out to win the state championship and win when we competed was something that really instilled confidence and was good for my overall self. So I really saw value in athletics and being a part of that track team. And we held on to our school record in the 400 relay, the 800 relay. Also, I had the record in the 100 dash and the 200 dash for
Wow.
about 38 years.
Bachelor of Science from Oklahoma State. When you went there, did you have a career in mind? I'm not sure when UPS first came to the fore in terms of, I want to work for UPS.
It was after I graduated, so going through college, I did not have a very specific path lined out, which is why I focused on business and management. I thought that would give me a good foundation. I gravitated toward marketing, so I had a minor in marketing. I really enjoyed that, but I really wanted to have that business and management foundations.
Are there people that you can point to later in your life in terms of what impact they had? You're certainly a person that gives back with all the nonprofit activities you do, and even working with small business. So, what kind of put you on that path?
Well, as far as the mentors in my life, obviously, I talked earlier, my mom had a huge influence on me on all the things that she instilled in me and still inspires me today. I mean, when you think about giving back, I mean, she gives all the time and that is what her heart and passion is in. And I watch what she does and it inspires me to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and continuing to give back. So when I started with UPS, I started after college, and I had interviewed for a sales position. I didn't get that sales position, and I had spoken to the business manager about the fact that I wanted to get in with UPS, but I didn't get that sales job. And he was probably one of the first and most influential mentors at the time, because he encouraged me to just get my foot in the door. So back then, we really didn't hire from the outside. It was promote from within. And so he was like, you just got to get your foot in the door. And so he kept an eye out for opportunities and a counter clerk, part-time counter clerk position came open and he was like, just get in.
Get in the
It's will
door.
promote from within, get your foot in the door. And a position opened up and I took it and he really guided me through the company and helped me understand what people were looking for. He put me in the right places at the right time. He positioned me in front of leadership, and ultimately it worked out. I was promoted, and he continued to be a good mentor. Later in my career, it's hard to sometimes mention the mentors because you don't want to leave anybody out.
Right.
But I had several, but three immediately come to mind, and that's George Brooks, Kate Gutman, and Gerard Gibbons. And really, all three of them supported me throughout my career. They stood up for me, put their name out there for me, which says a lot because not everybody will put your name out there and stand behind you. But probably the most important thing that all three of them did was that they spoke truth to me and they they gave it to me straight with no chaser. Like
Yeah.
they gave me feedback, and I wanted to do better for them, not just for myself. And it paid off. And I really owe a lot to those people.
Sophia, I'm sure you agree with this, but surround yourself with people that are going to support you and even have confidence in you. If you say, hey, I'm looking at this job, they want to be straight talkers to you, but if they feel like you can do it, you want people that can say, yes, you can do that job, because you need people that aren't downers when you're looking to move up the chain. So, um,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I think there's a real difference. I talk about mentors and sponsors, and I really think there is a difference
yeah.
because that sponsor is going to go in and into the room and talk for you, and you want to make sure that they know all of the great things that you're doing. They know, all the skills that you have and what you can do. And those are the things you want to continue to feed to that sponsor because they're going to be in that room speaking for you. The mentor, I think, goes a step further because you can be vulnerable with your mentor because they're going to give you that very specific feedback. They're going to tell you when you might be going down the wrong path, or you might be the one that was in the wrong in that conversation. They're going to give you that feedback sometimes even in the moment. They're going to know some of your flaws and help you overcome them.
You're kind of in rarefied air in respect to being in one company for 35 years, for pretty much your entire career. Um, but you've had a lot of different roles. So how do you think about that? And I know some people from UPS will be listening, but I have to say, any regrets that you didn't, do look at something else over those years?
No, no regret. I'll start with that. No regrets. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I hadn't stuck with UPS for 34 years. So, to your point, I've done so many different things in so many different places. I mean, I've done sales, I've done marketing, I've done compensation, strategy, international. I had an opportunity to run an international business unit through one of the acquisitions, so I got P&L experience. So I've done so many different things. It was like getting a new job
Yeah.
every so many years. And then I've had 6 relocations with the company, so I've moved to several different places, and got an opportunity to see the world. And when I got promoted to account executive supervisor position, they said, you got the job, you need to be on a plane to Dallas for training. And I had no hesitation. I was like, let's do it. I got on a plane and I have been flying ever since. If I'm not traveling somewhere, I start to get antsy. But UPS has allowed me to see the world and experience many different things and gain a tremendous amount of experience. So I don't look back and regret any of it.
Since you mentioned you're an introvert and you also in the same breath say you're in sales, just talk about how an introvert thinks about sales.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? But and I'll also tie it into networking because
Yeah.
I have to do a lot of networking and I have to do a lot of interactions with our clients. And I say I'm an actress, so I turn it on when I need to turn it on. I understand it. I study it to make sure, if I'm going to see a client, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to look up the information on the client. I'm going to look up the information on the company. I'm going to study the products and services and solutions that fit for that company. I'm going to understand my sales team strategy. So I'm going to put in the work so that it comes across as natural because I've done the research, because I've prepared myself for those interactions. I say I'm an introvert, but I also enjoy being around people. People watching is like something I enjoy because you always see a lot of entertainment, but the job and the things that I'm trying to do uh, make me get in the game and not sit back and just people watch, but actually get involved and be a part of the action.
You mentioned that you travel a lot of places in terms of your job. So, I had some listed: Oklahoma, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, New York, and then back to Georgia. I probably missed some along the way. Um, Maybe just mention, because some people are, maybe it's different now with remote work a little bit, but willingness to move, I assume, to take that next step up. How did you kind of think about that?
Well, one thing with UPS, and they don't move people as much as they used to, but when I started, I mean, every 2 to 3 years, they potentially were moving people to get them different experience, exposure, and promotion opportunities. First move was within Oklahoma, and it was because they needed to see, could I supervise people? So I was hired as an individual contributor, but they needed to see, can I really supervise people? Because again, they saw something in me bigger than just a account executive. And so they moved me to the district office and allowed me to supervise the air sales executives. And then Atlanta, my first experience in Atlanta was we used to do special assignments where they'd send you, put you on a team, project team to work on a project. My first one was to Atlanta because I wanted to go international. I wanted an international assignment and they moved me to or sent me to Atlanta for a 6 month assignment and ended up spending time in Mahwah, New Jersey, and working on international systems. So in 2000, another assignment opportunity came up, and my boss said, "Here you go to Atlanta, get yourself promoted, and don't come back." And I was like, "I'm on it. I'm on it this time." And fortunately, I went to Atlanta. I took a couple different roles, marketing and sales compensation, and tried to look within the organization where my path was going, and determined that it was back to customer facing, and ultimately was promoted to South Carolina. So that was my first director position. So I was a director in South Carolina over the sales team there. And then my next opportunity in Dallas was to become a managing director. So again, that was my leadership team putting the faith in me that I could make that leap. Then New York, which was my favorite. I love New York City. It was my favorite, I think my favorite position, favorite place to live. And that was getting promoted to vice president. And I really enjoyed that. And then the interesting one was the next move back to Atlanta in 2016. Um, that's when I took over iParcel, the international acquisition. So here was my chance to
Yeah,
get my international experience and
finally.
exposure. I picked Atlanta because intentionally my role would have been working with the leadership and the stakeholders in the corporate office. And turns out I had to spend a lot of time learning the business, understanding the business, and interacting with the business. And then in 2018, they pulled me back into the core in preparation for a president role. And that's when I, came back to become the president of U.S. sales, focused on SMB and inside sales, and then ultimately took this role over enterprise group.
So, can you reflect on some key lessons from your early career that shaped your leadership approach? Maybe some things that have stayed with you throughout your career.
Well, I would say it's about people. It's treating people fairly, being able to communicate with people, providing upfront accountability. A lot of the lessons in my career really surround the people aspect and making sure that I'm doing the right thing for the people. Because if they know that you're looking out for them, then they will take the hill for you.
I'm sure there's been many, as you already alluded, but maybe a specific challenge that you faced and how you overcame it, any part of your career.
I would say going back to communication, having effective communication, and if I were filling out my report card today and they said, "What do you need to work on?" I would still say communication because I think it's something that I've continued to work on, and I think will always be an area that I can continuously get better at. Especially at one point, I had about 3,500 people reporting up to me, and it was about how do I move the masses? Well, I had to communicate properly so that all the way to the front line, the right message came across and they were ready to, stand with me and win and meet the goals that we needed to meet. I would say also as you move up, it's really learning who's authentic, and who's catering to your title. Like, who are the people that, stand beside you because they are authentic and they really believe in what you're trying to do. And when you walk out of the room, they're still pushing your message and supporting you versus those that may say something in front of you and something different behind you, and really being able to discern the difference. But one other last one that comes to mind is don't delay making the hard decisions.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's tough and you're like, well, let me put it off, or let me think about it some more. But sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid and make those hard decisions so that everybody can move on, and that can be tough.
You had at one point 3,500 employees reporting up to you in some way. Um, how did you manage to get people, say, like on the same team, so to speak, but also did you have a style to, if they wanted to communicate something to you directly or indirectly, how did you facilitate communication and kind of everybody being on the same page?
Well, we have open door policy at UPS, so anyone, knew that they could come to me directly if they wanted to. But it was making sure those lines of communication were open, not only with me, but with my leaders and the entire team. But I would hold focus group meetings to, understand what was going on with the team, hear directly from them, let them feel comfortable that they could um, talk in those meetings and express themselves. And then I did as much as I possibly could. I got out and went to the different locations. So as when I was the VP, I had half the country. As president, I had the whole country. So I just traveled around the country and met with the leadership, met with the front line to hear what they had to say and express my vision so that they could hear directly from me and ask the questions directly from me so that, I could make sure that's my chance to test as well, is the message that I'm sending getting to everyone at all levels, and how are they communicating it out.
What do the younger folks want? How do you, have you modified your leadership style or has something changed or do they all want similar things, whether you're a boomer or a Z, so on?
It seems like they want more, faster, sooner, instant gratification. Like, give it to me now. I know I just got here today, but can I get promoted tomorrow? Just, they want acknowledgement of what they're doing more so. So, we have to do things a little bit differently. And for example, I talk about, they want acknowledgement of what they're doing and promotions. Um, so rather than have a band, so you're, within this band, and that band has 3 levels in it, maybe we have 7 levels in there so that they can see the progression of the
Hmm.
band. So it acknowledges that, what they're doing, the accomplishments that they have, and giving them a little something, a little reward for doing it. So there's that motivation for them.
Carol Tomei, first woman CEO for UPS. And I didn't realize until I looked it up because I thought there was more and the only Fortune 500 women CEO in Georgia. So would you say how things have changed? Is there a difference in women leaders? Of course, she's been a leader in big companies and she's a great leader. So, but how have things changed?
I mean, I think leaders are leaders. It depends
Yeah,
on your skill set, your ability, what's in you. But and mind you, Carol was on the board for
yeah.
13 years or so, so she knew UPS. It wasn't someone completely new coming and trying to figure it out. She knew the company, but she still brought a different perspective, and she executed on that different perspective. And she really looked at the business as a whole and really listened to the people and tried to make some changes that impacted the people. Um, from a sales perspective, I mean, every time I brought her to my sales team to, inspire and motivate them. I mean, everybody got off the call like ready to like go run and win. And she really knows how to turn it on to motivate the sales team. So for the women within the company to see the CEO is a female says to them, there's an opportunity and a chance for me to do it. And that alone was inspiring. She is wicked smart and a phenomenal leader, and she has done some really great things for the organization.
Sometimes on this show, we talk about influencers, and all the leaders are in a position of incredible influence inside, but also outside the company. Do you see that as part of your role, and how do you approach it?
Absolutely. Experience and knowledge that I have, I think is valuable. And I'd like to think I'm inspiring someone along the way because all the things that I've done and all the experience that I've gained, I want to share it. And if I can help anyone, I definitely want to do that. So I try to inspire. I mean, you don't set out to inspire. Well, I guess you could be an inspirational speaker, but just in the things that I do, I hope it inspires someone to, number one, know that they can do it too.
And so over the years, we've seen how much of a transformation, whether it's around technology or how employees are utilized. I know you're hiring thousands of employees, but is there one thing you want to point to that you would say you were part of or led that was a significant contribution to the advancement of UPS or your team?
It goes back to the people. When I had the SMB team and I was president of US sales, having a focus on SMB, that's that was I think a really critical position, and we were trying to go from a lack of growth to growth, and really getting everybody on board to achieve the profit numbers that we needed to achieve for the company, and getting that with the SMB team. And I was very proud of going from a negative growth position to a positive growth position within that first year I was in that role. And I attribute it to all the way from the selection of the right people, developing those people, holding them accountable, motivating them, trying to be an inspiration to them. I was responsible for the people that came from, the starters that came to the companies. And when I look back now and see some of those people that I made a selection to bring them on in leadership roles, it really makes me feel good, and it lets me know that we did the right thing and put the right people in the right place.
So a couple of things that your company and other companies are working on. One is sustainability, uh, is kind of becoming central to logistics, and I know UPS has done a lot in that area. But how have they aligned their goals to being eco-friendly in terms of practices? I'm not sure how directly involved you are, but it seems like everybody in your leadership roles like yours would be involved to some degree.
Everybody has to touch it in some way, shape, or form. A lot of the sustainability efforts align to our operations, the alternative fuel options that we have, a lot more electric vehicles, just the route optimization, which I think a lot of people are, familiar with that. I mean, we have a lot of engineers that know exactly how many steps it takes to do things.
Hmm.
Driving,
Turn
how do
right or
we
left.
optimize the route? Because you don't want to drive any miles that you don't have to.
Yeah.
And we all help support those efforts. When it comes to our clients, we have the carbon neutral offsets that we talk to our customers about, different packaging solutions. How can we get involved with things like that with our customers? Package labs. We look at all of those things.
Diversity and inclusion have been key things and themes in your career. How do you ensure these values are integrated into UPS's culture and strategy?
Well, I believe it's important. I believe it's still necessary. If you don't have diversity of thought and different people at the table having conversations, and some of these efforts have had to force that diversity of thought and force different people to be at the table. But I mean, the quality and caliber of people that are available and out there from a diversity standpoint is tremendous. And so it should not be looked down on as if, somebody is not qualified to
Yeah.
do something because of one thing or another. But I think it's very important that you bring different people to the table and have that diversity of thought and make sure that we are doing the right thing and everybody gets equal opportunity to participate, equal opportunity for promotion, and experience and exposure.
So as money gets tighter, sometimes companies shortchange, if you will, their leadership development. How do you approach it personally? And because you've had a lot of leadership development opportunities in your career.
UPS has not done that. We still have leadership development opportunities, and really even looking at how do we shape them differently? How do we create different type of leadership development opportunities? So I think sometimes we also have to be careful that when you see something is being cut, make sure we, look to the other side because we may have created something. And that's what
Yeah.
I've seen at UPS. You're doing a disservice if you are, continuing to move someone up the ladder and create leaders, but not developing them and giving them the extra skills that they need to lead as they move up. So it remains important for UPS and should remain important for all organizations and community leaders to continue to develop yourself and always be looking for that opportunity to learn.
UPS probably was in the top 1%. I'm just making that percentage up, but top 1% in terms of people starting out as on the trucks or delivering the mail or whatever it might be, and they just work their way up through to become leadership positions. I know it's changed a little bit, but is that philosophy still there for the company?
Yes, absolutely. If you get in, you could still stay here for 34 years and continue to move up in the company and get
Yeah.
a whole host of experience and promotional opportunities. But we are also bringing people in from the outside at leadership positions and roles. So it's a little bit of a mix, but definitely promote from within is still something that's extremely important within the UPS culture.
Talk a little bit about your passion for nonprofits. So Cool Girls, your role there, Latinas Rise. I read about the Hot Pink Party. I'm not sure exactly what that is, and the Douglas Ayers Association, which I think is your current most exciting passion. But maybe talk a little bit about your role there, or just how you kind of approach being involved with nonprofits.
Yes. I mean, I've always, as I talked way early on, always wanted to give back and be involved. Cool Girls, I actually chair the board for Cool Girls this year. So
Oh,
I have
good.
a very active role with Cool Girls. We really are empowering young girls across Atlanta. We have about 250 girls in uh, 8 schools around Atlanta, Title I schools, and it starts at 8 years old. And I mean, we go all the way up to give scholarships to girls that have gone on to schools. Latinas Rise, one of my Leadership Atlanta classmates, started that organization just a little over a year ago, so it's brand new. So we provide education, networking opportunities, business opportunities. To Latina entrepreneurs to see their businesses grow and be successful. And then Douglas Ayers Association is back in my hometown. So that's bringing that connection for me back to my hometown. And so what I've done at this point is taken over the scholarship programs for Douglas Ayers Association because I want it to be a legacy that lives on forever as
Oh, that's
the
great.
actual Douglas Ayers or Douglas School alumni, faculty, and staff get older, can't travel back in, pass away. You start to lose a little bit of the legacy and history, and I want to make sure we don't do that. So I'm really trying to get it up and running off the ground. We offered 3 scholarships in the last year or the year before last, and we want to make it an annual program. And so I'm really out pounding the pavement to try to get it up and running to become the legacy that it is.
And they're involved with onboard, and if one of your thoughts about we'll say a next stage or next chapter would be to get involved with one or more corporate boards. Uh, I'm
Yes.
sitting here today saying you'd be a terrific corporate board member. So you want to say anything about that in terms of what you're ideally looking for?
Well, thank you for that. And yes, on board, great organization, helping women get on boards. I've been very proud to be a part of that organization. But yeah, I think in my next chapter, all the experience that I've gained from UPS, all the things that I've talked about earlier, I think align me to continue to pass that on with public or private boards. And I think that's a good next step for me to, continue to help other organizations and, use the experience and knowledge that I have to get on a board and do some board service.
You're deeply involved with mentoring future leaders. What advice would you give to those who are starting their careers if there was one thing that kind of leave them with?
It would be say yes. Like when the opportunities come along, just say yes to the opportunities, take a chance. And while you're in it, get the most from whatever it is that you're doing. Like when you join the company or take a new role, the company is going to get from you what they can get from you. Make sure you get from them what you can get, whether it be tightening up your skill set, networking opportunities with other people to learn, but get something, make yourself better with whatever opportunity you take the next step in.
Well, Sophia, thank you so much for joining me and Leading with Relevance. I appreciate you and taking the time today.
Thank you so much for having me.